Well, hi there everyone, this is Denise from Superfast Recruitment, and today is a special podcast and a special webcast too, because I decided that I have had so many questions about how do I automate my marketing. The best person to talk to is an expert, somebody that works with many of our Superfast Circle clients, actually does some coaching in our own group, and he is the geek when it comes to marketing automation, and that particular individual is Jason Kruger. So Jason, do you want to come on? Can I? Yeah, hello.
Hi.
You can see it. A true geek has all the techno gear as well. So Jason, we talk about automation all the time, don't we? Because you sort of do all our different campaigns, but there's a lot more to you than that. So I've got a number of questions here that people have asked me to ask you in some of our groups, which we'll start on in a second. But can you just, people will recognise that accent is slightly different.
Yes.
But so tell us a little bit about you, your background, and how you come to, to do what you're doing today.
Okay, well, yes, the accent is different. I'm originally from South Africa. I actually moved here to the UK in, I think it was August '98, with my immediate family. My dad worked for a multinational company and we moved to the UK. So I did most of my kind of senior schooling here in the UK, and actually went to Nottingham University where I read a degree in computer science. And,
right.
After that, I got into IT. Now I've always been into tech, younger, going into kind of the Technic Lego and all that type of thing. But as I kind of grew up and got more into IT, so after my degree, got into IT, and after a number of years, moved up, was an IT manager, but then unfortunately was made redundant in 2013, I think it was. But luckily, kind of 4 years previous to that, I kind of got into the online marketing field, as you could probably say, with my dad. He took me to my first kind of online marketing conference, and since then really got hooked. And before that, I was already building websites, but it was more the kind of the normal coding in HTML. But learning through the online marketing, got introduced more into WordPress and started building all my websites and that for clients. But as my dad was getting kind of deeper into the online marketing world, the need for the landing pages and the tech and all that, it was something that he struggled with, didn't really know much about. So I was always his kind of technical person, setting all of that up for him. And I was kind of doing this part-time during kind of 2009 and 2013 when I was made redundant. But then I had the opportunity to actually go out and do this full-time. And at the time, my wife gave me 6 months, or actually she wasn't my wife at the time. We were getting married in two months after I got made redundant. So there was a lot of stress at that time. But she gave me 6 months to kind of make a go of it, and I'm still here, so must be doing something right. And yes,
it's like the love and the push of a good woman, isn't it?
Oh, definitely, and an ultimatum.
yeah.
But yeah, kind of since then, I've been doing this kind of full time, helping clients from websites, membership sites, building landing pages, connecting CRM systems, all those types of things. So really helping with the technical side of the online marketing for clients.
Good. And for some of you watching this or listening to it, if you've ever been on the receiving end of an email or a webinar invite, it's Jason that makes all that magic happen. So I thought I'd just mention that as well. So I've got lots of questions here. So if I start with the first one, and that is, what should people think about when it comes to automating their marketing, Jason? Obviously, you know, for the guys listening to this, they're going to be recruitment business owners across the world. You know, some of them might have lots of candidates. but they need more clients, and others vice versa. So where do you think, what are the things that they need to be thinking about when it comes to automation?
So I think when you first look at automation, there's quite a lot of different things that you can automate, your nurture sequences, lead generation. But I think when you start looking at automation and the things that you might want to do with it, there are other things that you probably need to consider first, and that's to do with, GDPR. It's kind of the buzzword in online marketing at the moment, because some people are doing it correctly, some people are kind of towing the line a little bit with it. There's always different interpretations on what you need to do. So I think when it comes to doing your automation, you need to look at those types of things as well, because when you start doing stuff online, it's not just you need to start with kind of your privacy policies and how you're actually going to collect that information and what information you're going to start collecting. And especially in the recruitment industry, if you're doing candidates and clients, you're going to be asking for slightly different information at various points. So I think you need to kind of really start looking at that part before you even start creating any kind of automation, because you need to get that right first. Otherwise you can get found out later on, and it all kind of gets integrated within the online marketing side of things and the automation side of things. It kind of all integrates anyway, but it's good to kind of think of that first, and then kind of move forward from there. With candidates, what is it that you're looking to automate there? Is it just the CV side of things, or is it to actually give them information to help them with their CVs, etc.? And then the same thing on the client side is, what information could you potentially offer them to help them with their business, and hopefully then they become clients for you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess really there's multiple things that you can automate, isn't there, when it comes to your candidates and your clients?
There is, automation doesn't necessarily mean just your marketing side of things. It can also be kind of the back office things that you might be doing as well. If there's a set process that you have, you could potentially automate that as well, to make sure that you're going through that same process every time. Kind of onboarding as well. If you're onboarding a new candidate, again, you probably have your set process that you would use for all your candidates. So things like that could be automated as well, to make sure that you're collecting the right information, you're sending them the right information as well. And that goes for the client side as well, onboarding new clients there.
I think that's something that sometimes people miss out on. They don't appreciate that they could, when someone uploads a CV, there could be like an automation sequence, maybe of a series of emails that then would help that individual know what the next steps are, what to do, that actually saves so many phone calls as well that could happen.
Exactly. We're all busy, and if you get a CV in and you're doing it as a manual process, at what point do you actually send them a welcome email saying thanks for your CV, etc.? Are you sending it straight away, or when you kind of remember 2 or 3 days later? If it's all automated, it's sent at the right time, and it makes you look good as well.
Absolutely. Thinking about that, where do you think it is a good starting point for automation? Obviously, we've just touched on a little bit now when it comes to maybe automating when someone's uploaded their CV, do they get some nice rapport building emails after that? What else do you think you need to consider, Jason?
The two main ones that I would consider is lead generation and nurture sequences. Because a lot of people do lead generation, but then they don't do the nurture sequence. And if they are doing lead generation, they're only kind of doing it half-heartedly, really. And what I mean by that is you can automate your lead generation, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. With lead generation, you'll be using a landing page connected to an autoresponder, but it's not just setting those parts up. Once you've got your ebook or report that you want to kind of give out to your candidates, you have to have the marketing on the front end as well. It's not, one of those things where you just set up and forget, because people are not going to know about it. So it is making sure that you're then driving traffic to it, mentioning it in Facebook groups, LinkedIn, all those places to get people to those landing pages. And then the same thing with notice sequences.
Can I pause you just there? Because there's going to be some people listening to this that are going to know what an autoresponder is, and some people may or may not, and there'll be others that not necessarily know what a landing page is. Can you just explain? I remember when I first started doing this 15 years ago, I thought, what is an autoresponder? If you can explain that to people, I think that would be good.
A landing page is typically a page on it could be on your website, but it's a page that actually has one goal, and that is to get a person's contact information, get them to buy. Those are types of things of landing pages. You have one goal on that page, and typically a landing page will just have the information for that one purpose. So you're not going to have your navigation of your website on there, because that's a distraction, which then means that if someone is directed to that page and you have those types of distractions, they might not even read that landing page. They might say, oh, there's something else on there on the navigation that they click on, and then they get taken away from that page. So a landing page just has that one focus. All it has is information for that ebook, that offer, and has that one call to action on there. Now, an autoresponder is the system that will send out your automated email. So when someone subscribes to a newsletter or ebook, that's the system that will capture their information and then send out the emails that you've set up.
Yeah, I think, and it's sometimes people call them opt-in pages as well. And back in the day, the old school people used to call them squeeze pages. And they were called squeeze pages. You would squeeze them into an action. They weren't allowed to do.
There are different names to it: squeeze pages, opt-in pages, landing pages, and then your sales pages as well, if you're getting them to buy something from you. So they can have quite a wide-ranging action for them to take, but basically it is one action that you want them to take.
We'll probably come on to a little bit about tech as well, but I think one of the things for anyone considering using an autoresponder, as Jason says, is there's a clue in the title. You want to be able to automate the emails that are sent out, because the last thing, and I should have switched my notifications off, but never mind. You can see we're doing this, and I think one of the things that with a lot of recruitment software, and we talked to people, I was chatting to somebody this morning about it, is that whatever software you choose, make sure that you can automate the emails, because otherwise you're not going to remember to say, oh, I need to send out this email, oh, I need to send out that email, that it's done in a sequence that makes sense. So I think that's important. That's important too. So we've talked about landing pages. We've talked about autoresponders. Is there anything else people need to consider, in the way that this all works together? You talked about lead magnets. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that and report?
Yeah. So a lead magnet is it could be a number of different things. It can be a PDF, an ebook. It can be an MP3. It could even be a video. But what they all have in common is they're solving a pain that your potential candidate or client has. And that's what the focus of that lead magnet should be. It should be there to solve one of those pain points. And if you can do that, that's when you can move forward with a more potential client relationship. But you
Yeah.
need to be able to
Yeah.
show that you can actually solve the pains that they're experiencing, and that's what a lead magnet should be all about. It's solving that pain. But like I said, you can do it in a variety of different ways. So it's not just what is common is a PDF. I've
Yeah.
seen little video courses, if that's what you think is going to be the best way to deliver that message or that solution.
Yeah, I think just to add in a little bit here that we found is that over time doing this for many years, that the sorts of things that work really well is just the simple PDF. Because it's a low barrier to entry. It's not like you're asking someone who's never ever heard of you to watch an hour-long webinar live or whatever that might be. But being able to download a checklist or a PDF seems to work incredibly well when it comes to trying to decide what to do. And it's pretty easy to do, is to put a report together. I mean, obviously our Superfast Circle, we have. We create reports for all our members that they can use, and that sort of helps that part of it. But I think it's all around value-based marketing, which is massive at the moment. I think particularly with everything that's happening, and we're recording this in one of the strangest years we've probably ever
Yeah.
ever had, since maybe 2008. And people are looking for value, they're looking for help. And if you can reach out and do that in an automated way, it just makes things so much easier. I've got quite a few other questions here. Can I?
Yeah, no, not a problem at all.
Can I continue? So we talked about where's a good starting point. So maybe if we talk more about the technology. And obviously you've worked with a number of recruitment companies, both with ourselves and obviously your own clients, Jason, as well. What's the sort of the tech that people really need to think about, and any suggestions on what works really well?
Yeah, so when you're kind of looking at doing this kind of marketing automation, especially lead generation, there's two bits of software that I recommend, and that's having a kind of a landing page builder. And the reason I say to get a piece of software like this is you can do it on your website, but what I've found is you can be limited by the theme and the plugins and all that you have on your website, and you could end up spending a lot of time trying to make a proper landing page on your website, and then that still doesn't work because you still have your navigation and things like that, and it can cause a lot of headaches. So I opt to go for a separate landing page software. Now, there are a number of different ones out there. There's Leadpages, which is one that I do recommend. There's ClickFunnels, which builds the landing pages, but it's what they call a funnel builder. So it has the multiple different pages that you might have in a kind of a sales funnel, but that's something a little bit more advanced. Convertry is another one, and there's plenty of others. But what they all have in common is that they do have templates that you can kind of use and kind of base your landing page on if you want to go and make sure that it's on brand. So they give you these templates that you can start with, and it does speed the process up a lot more to get these pages done. And they have the integrations with loads of other software, CRM systems, autoresponders, and things like that. So that's one that I recommend. And when it comes to the autoresponder, the one that I recommend is ActiveCampaign. There are others out there, Aweber, MailChimp, but the one that I always, and Infusionsoft, but that again, they have different versions of them now, but they can still be quite complicated for people that are just starting out and expensive as well. So the one that I recommend is ActiveCampaign, and the reason for that is I like the interface. It's simple to see what's going on, and it also has kind of CRM-like features as well, so you can store more data against the contact, so you can basically trace what they're interested in, and and then you can serve them more of that as well. And it's
I
easier to
know.
use.
Yeah, I know that depending on when people listen or watch this, was it this week that Active Campaign have just announced a new addition to their service about landing pages? Do you want to say something about
Yeah,
that, Jason?
so they announced it, I think it was within the last few days. So it's still in beta, and what's happening now is if you've had Active Campaign before, yesterday or the day before, you will have this functionality. It might not be in your account just yet as they're rolling this out, and as I say, it's still in beta. It's something that I haven't had a chance to look at yet, but I will be looking at that in the next few days and do a video on that as well, to see what it's all about. Because with a lot of these systems where they have got, they're trying to bolt on more into their systems,
Yeah,
and some of them do it okay. Some of them don't do it that well. I'm still yet to find one that does everything brilliantly, and
yeah,
unfortunately, that's what tends to happen is they've already got kind of one slice of the pie and they want more, and so they're adding all these extra features onto
yeah,
it, and sometimes it just doesn't quite work the way kind of the dedicated systems work. They're good at email marketing and all that, and in my view, that's what they should stick with, because that's what they're good at. And when they start adding
yeah,
on these extra services, sometimes I think people get excited about it, but then when they go to actually use them, they find out that it's not as easy as it seems.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
I will find out and hopefully be surprised
yeah.
on how they do it. But I'll find that out in the next few days.
I must admit, I've been using Leadpages since I think probably 2013, 2014. I've been using it since it first came out. And it's a great piece of software. It's sort of like a monthly fee. And they do have some good instructional videos, and it has all these special integrations. I know when I first started in marketing working with the companies that we work with, I was fascinated thinking about why are all these different like bits of software, none of them are connected. And I think it's just AI is moving so fast and software development is moving so fast, and I think particularly for SMEs that really it's a case of it is what it is at the moment. There's lots of different pieces of software. However, what it means is that as a smaller business you can compete, because you don't have to have a coder, on site. You can outsource a lot of activities around this. I'll talk about what Jason does later on, but you can get all that handled for you, which I think is amazing in today's environment. What you can do, because it's smaller companies can't really. Suddenly just throw away a couple of million on a light in Piccadilly Square or whatever, with a brand name on it. It's not the same. It's a more direct marketing style, which is obviously how this works. The other thing, Jason, is obviously a lot of people say about, I want to outsource everything. So, in marketing speak, there's the done for you service. There's you do it yourself. Can you just explain how they work together and what, as a general experience, you think is the best options and routes to go down?
Yeah, so the done or kind of do it yourself model. I understand why people go down that route, because sometimes they just don't have the capital to invest in other people doing it for them.
Yeah,
But also, they need to, or they might want to learn some of the processes themselves before kind of outsourcing it.
yeah,
And I haven't got a problem with any of that. The issue comes when you spend weeks and months on trying to get something which, in relative terms, is a simple process, and it takes
yeah,
you that long to get it up and running that you just don't do it, and you put it on the back burner, and then it never gets
yeah,
done. And I've actually had
Yeah.
a few clients like that where they've done it, tried to do it themselves, and it's been months down the line, and they're still kind of on the starting blocks. And you
Yeah.
know, like I said, I don't have a problem with people trying it themselves as long as as long as they are making progress. Unfortunately, some people get stuck at one point and then they never kind of move from that point. And
Yeah.
then, you know, okay, they might have to spend a bit of money to get someone in to do it, but how much has it cost them trying to do it all themselves rather than get someone
Yeah.
else in? If they didn't have to do it themselves and got someone else in, how much money could they have made doing the stuff that they're actually good at?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
I think,
always that kind of chicken and egg scenario with
yeah.
this.
Yeah. And I know it is an interesting one because obviously, we have clients and you know that, you teach them how to do things, or they've got a marketeer and you're teaching their marketeer how to, how to do the bits and pieces really of, automation. But I think you raise a good point there that we always say to people, look, it is good to understand how this works, first of all. We're not saying do it yourself, but you need to understand the process. You need to understand, okay, this is my outcome. So I will actually need to have a landing page. I'll need to write a campaign for this. So, once you get a handle on it, then absolutely, I would say when it comes to things like, setting up an automated funnel, then outsource it, because I think, for many of you maybe listening to this or watching it later, your skills may be in the fact that you are a super duper biller as well as everything else you do in the business or managing the team. Do you really want to be sitting at night trying to work out how does this bit of connect to this? Because that, you and I have had this conversation as well that, Jason could do something for us and it would probably take Jason a couple of hours. It would probably take me, because I have got some technical bent, but it might take me 2 or 3 days to do it. And in those 2 or 3 days, I could be writing an email campaign, I could be coaching somebody, and that is my zone of genius, rather than checking out which piece of software goes to which other piece of software. Which can, and again, I think it's like there's a massive fear. People start doing something and then they panic.
Yes.
It's like you're not really going to break anything.
No, and I think there is that fear when people look at new software that they're going to break something and then it's done and they're not going to be able to use it again. And sometimes, nowadays with software, nothing is ever completely broken. But sometimes you do need to have a go yourself to learn how the system works.
Yeah. Or even just to know that this is going to take me a long time. I'm not quite sure. And it's letting your ego go. I think a lot of people love to be in control. And this is one thing you don't need to be in control of. I'm sure you do not need to be in control of this. You can get someone else to do it. So, as I said, Jason does all of our campaigns. I write them all. And so Jason knows this email needs to go out on day 1. This needs to go out on day 3, because of the way that a system might work. So, is there anything else you think we might not have covered, Jason? That I'm going to ask Pete. I'm going to get you to talk a little bit about how people can get in contact with you. But is there anything else that you think I've not covered that I need to cover? Maybe any questions I need to ask you?
I know that there were a few questions that asked your audience about, and one of them was regarding the autoresponder software, so like something like MailChimp and ActiveCampaign, and what the differences might have been between the two. Now, MailChimp is probably one of the very first email autoresponders out there.
Yeah.
It was them, and I think Aweber were also kind of ones right at the beginning. And when they were developed, the email sequences at that time were simple. It was send one email, send another email in 2 days' time, send another one 3 days' time, and so on. But now everything's about automation. And something like ActiveCampaign has been built from the ground up with all of this in mind. So their interface and that is just simple to use. It's easy to see. Now, MailChimp, I'm not sure about Aweber, but I know MailChimp have really tried to catch up on that side of things. And they do have marketing automation. And yes, it does work. And I have seen it. But to me, the interface is still so clunky. Like, you do have a free MailChimp plan. But what they fail to mention is that you don't get any automation with that. You can send one email. So if someone signs up to a list, you can then send them a welcome email. But that's as far as it goes. You then need to pay for an account. And when it comes to actually creating the automations, the interface I find not very intuitive, and you can't see the bigger picture. And it's the reason why I don't really recommend MailChimp anymore. Even if you're starting out, I would spend a little bit of money and actually start with ActiveCampaign. Now, ActiveCampaign, I think on a monthly basis is something like $15 a month, which is not a huge amount of money, but what you get for it is huge. The interface is clean. You can see the automations clearly on how things are going to work, and it's a very visual system, and that's why I would always recommend ActiveCampaign over MailChimp. MailChimp was great, and many people still use MailChimp, and I don't hold that against them, but when it comes to wanting to do more stuff with it, that's when I find it breaks down. A few weeks ago, I was showing someone how to connect MailChimp up to Leadpages, for instance. Now, on a free account, the way that MailChimp works is that they give you audiences. Now, on the free account, you get one audience. On their first payment level, you get 3 audiences. Now, let's say you've got 3 or 4 ebooks that you want to put out on landing pages. Now, if you had 4, you wouldn't be able to actually do that within MailChimp, because the way that the integration works between Leadpages and MailChimp is that it connects to an audience. So it means that if you have one audience and you're on a free account, you can only have kind of one freebie to hand out, whereas with ActiveCampaign you can connect as many as you like. And that was something I found out recently, and was another kind of reason why I'm like, I wouldn't really look at MailChimp for real automation. I would go for a system like ActiveCampaign, and again, there are other ones that are built out that are out there. I think there was another question with regards to knowing who has downloaded things off your website. Now, that's a tricky one because I don't know all the details, but if you only have links on your website with a link directly to the report, you won't know who's downloaded, because that's one where it's kind of a free for all, and someone can just go on there, click on it, and download it. If you want to know who has actually downloaded your reports, ebooks, that's when you'll need to have some kind of opt-in kind of in the front of it. So it's kind of the payment wall, as you were, where someone has to put in their name and email address to get that report. And if you have that set up, then you can then track to see who exactly has downloaded which report, etc. And then you can have your nurture sequences, etc. going from that.
I think there's a really important point you mentioned there, because I think one of the challenges for people is that some of our competitors may go out there and say, oh, it's amazing, you'll get 500 leads from sending out an email campaign or whatever. And in practice, as we both know, that doesn't actually work like that. But what is great to be able to do, and that's where things like, we're not here to sell ActiveCampaign, by the way, it's just that is one that seems to work really well, is that, if it's set up in such a way that you can use, are they called tags in ActiveCampaign, Jason? So it may be, if someone's like downloaded a report, it will tag that person as, download one or whatever it might be, or download CV if you sent a report out on that. And then that is really powerful information, because that individual, you know, that John Smith has got an interest, and you can then, you know, contact that person. They can be followed up. I don't know if any of you have ever had a phone call from someone. You downloaded a report. Some of the American companies are incredibly slick at this, and suddenly you'll get a phone call to say, you know, hi, this is, you know, Kieran, can I help you? I noticed that you download our latest report, and that is, it's quite impressive. I'm not saying you have to do it the same day, but you know, we use it in our own system. So Andy, who's our BD person, would, you know, pull off a list of people that he knows have downloaded different reports. So if somebody's downloaded a report on content marketing, there's a fair chance that they're interested in content marketing. You know, if you've got a particular report about how to be, you know, how to develop your, you know, your finance career, then if someone's actually, and this is the power of automation, Jason, isn't it? Because all of this is going on in the background. Because, you know, it's like you get a bee in your bonnet and you're online at, you know, 10 o'clock at night, you download a report. You know, the next morning, if you're the recruiter that sees, oh, you know, John Smith has downloaded this report, you know, there's a chance that person's interested, and that's how you can follow up. And that's where I think people forget about automation is going on in the background for you, but it's delivering to you leads that then are more interested.
Yeah, and
because you still have to fix them.
Yeah, and it does. It can take a lot of the burden off you as well. Again, depending on how you've set up your marketing automation. And when I said something like a sales funnel, now that's just more landing pages kind of connected together.
Yeah.
But for recruitment, it could be, you know, download your report. They go to a thank you page where you have a video thanking them for downloading your report on how to create a CV, for instance. But then you could also have a link in there to say, oh, book a call with one of our representatives or whatever, and we can help you build your CV or something along those lines. Yeah. And all of a sudden now people are coming to you rather than you having to chase them. So done right, it can be very powerful.
I'm a great believer in, I call it blended marketing, old school and new school working together, because you know, cold calling still works. Let me just be clear about that. It absolutely does. But you know, it also works really well when someone has been opening your emails. You definitely have a better chance of getting through to them on the phone. If they've been clicking links, then sometimes they're, oh yeah, I've been on your email list for a couple of years, and I'm ready to move now. So I think that's the difference, where it's always working in the background.
Instead of them being kind of a cold lead, they might not be a hot lead, but they're definitely a lukewarm lead. And those are so much, and those again are still better than cold leads. And I think, like you said, I think it depends. How many times somebody's opened an email, or how many times somebody's clicked a link, and depending on what's amazing with software nowadays, it will actually give you like a lead score depending on which system you're using as well. So, you know, the capabilities are amazing. But I mean, I always say to people, when it comes to automation, as you were saying before, Jason, it's about setting up a nurture sequence, isn't it, really? Yeah. And unfortunately, I've seen loads of people kind of set up their landing page and maybe one email, you know, thanking them for downloading their report with the link to the report, and that's where it ends. And you know, I'll hold my hand up. You know, I've done it as well.
Me too.
Yeah. But you do need to have that nurture sequence, because you know, if you put all that hard work in creating your lead magnet, you want to have emails to make sure that people have either read it. In email 3, you could reference something in the ebook, and they're like, well, hang on, I've missed that bit, and they go back to read it. Or you know, you can have that in your email sequence, but also making sure that you're sending them at least maybe one email a week, an email every 2 weeks. but you still need you still want to make sure that you're still sending them emails, and not just the one email that you send out once in a blue moon, because unfortunately the way emails is now works nowadays is they probably won't see that one email that you sent 3 months ago, because if that's the only email you've sent in the last 6 months,
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
people now are receiving 50 to 100 emails a day.
Yeah.
It's probably got lost in there. So you do need to make sure that you are sending them regular emails in a nurture sequence, just to make sure that you are still appearing in their inbox.
And I think Jason's a real ninja at this, and he does it for us. But you can even do to a point where if somebody actually hasn't clicked the link to download the report, you will know that, and so you can actually send them a reminder. Because with the best will in the world, we all have busy lives. Jason's got a couple of children. Imagine you download a report and suddenly somebody's screaming in the background and you need to go and handle it, and then you forget that you've not downloaded the link. And sometimes it's good to have a reminder to say, hey Jason, did you download that report? So automation can do all of that for you and continue to nurture, because I think I know Sharon's done quite a lot of videos recently about the buyer's cycle, and the whole point of nurture is there's always some people that are ready to buy now. Their pain point has got to a point where it's painful. They've either got no clients, they need more candidates, whatever that might be, and they're ready to act now. That is where sending an email, they may respond straight away, but others might just be interested. They might be just shopping around, having a look to see, do I want to move companies or not? And, we've had people on our email list. In fact, we're working with somebody at the moment. They've been on our email list for 5 years. And suddenly now we're ironically in the middle of COVID as well. We're working with that individual now, but it's not been something where we've been chasing him. We've had to chase him. He's been there and he's been nurtured. And we have that all the time. People say, when I'm ready to work with a company, I'm going to come back to you. You probly have the same, Jason, as well.
Yeah, there's some people that have been on the list for years, and it's all of a sudden they come to you because they might not be reading every email that you've sent out, but your name is always there, and subconsciously you're still working them. And when they do finally make a decision, your name is kind of at the top of the list without them even realizing it.
Yeah. And all that's been working in the background while you've been billing, or you've been managing your team, or opening a new office somewhere in a new county, whatever that might be. I've mentioned quite a lot of different things here, and I know that some people will be keen maybe to talk to you about if you could help them. Do you want to talk a little bit about where people can find you and some of the services that you offer, Jason, as well?
Yeah, so people can just go to jasonkruger.com, and kind of my services and some of the stuff that I do is on there. And if you just go to the contact form there, you can fill that in and send that to me. Or you can just go and email support@jasonkruger.com and just let me know, how I can help you. Now, the different services that I provide, it can be quite wide-ranging. So I've built websites for clients, membership sites. But recently, especially at the moment, I've been helping people with their online marketing, so making sure that their landing pages and that are all set up. And I do have what I call our packages. They are going to kind of be rebranded to online marketing tech without trauma, because you don't want trauma when you're setting those things up.
Yeah. That's a word that often goes with technology.
Well, it can be, yeah. And I work with tech every day, and sometimes I feel like I've had enough. But yes, I have kind of our packages that people can buy, and they can then be used for anything really, from training. I've done training with clients as part of those packages, implementation, so actually building the landing pages and setting up the autoresponders, making sure that they're connected, tested, and so that when you start promoting and all that, everything works for you. And even recently, I've even started doing a little bit of video editing and that type of stuff as well. So those are probably my most popular services because people can get quite a lot out of them.
And Jason's even helped me with websites, and a couple of months ago in the middle of lockdown, everything else was happening. We had a malware attack with another site of ours, and Jason sorted it all out. It was like, oh my God, it's just like, everything goes wrong, doesn't it, at once? And Jason, you do build websites as well, don't you? So
yes, I do.
People are interested in that as well, but obviously the tech and automation. So thank you for coming today and answering some questions.
No, my pleasure.
And people who want to know more about Jason, jasonkruger.com. If you forget his name, then just email either Sharon or I, and we'll set up an introduction for you, because he's the guy if you want to really start getting things moving forward. So thank you for coming on today and sharing some of your knowledge and wisdom.
No, thank you very much. I've really enjoyed it.
Good. Great. We can edit that bit. I think that went all right.
Yeah, that went well. I'm just in the recording now. Stop recording. Yes.
So what?